Welcome, everybody. We're going to spend the next hour, maybe, or close to an hour, just talking through Practicum next year and what that looks like, answering some of your questions. If I haven't met you yet, my name is Brooke Roberts. I'm the school psychology coordinator, and I'm glad you're here. We also have, and I wanted to introduce to y'all, Beth Watson is on the line with us. She may want to say hi and everything if she's available to. Beth is our graduate advisor, and she does a lot of stuff for us and for you all behind the scenes. So she may be popping in and out today.
Hi, everybody. I'm sure all of us have spoken to some extent or other, but if y'all need anything, feel free to reach out. And between Brooke and I, we should be able to get that taken care of.
Thanks, Beth. I appreciate you being here. And then also, y'all feel free to throw anything into the chat box that you need. We can add it to the parking lot for the end, or we can take them as it comes. We're going to spend our first portion here talking about kind of the specialist level practicum, and then we'll spend the remaining portion talking about the doctoral or the advanced practicum. So I know looks like Jessica's here, so she'll probably help me watch the chat box. But y'all feel free to throw anything in there that you need to. Let's see here. Here we go. So if you want to take a second, just kind of briefly introduce yourself. Tell us who's here. Let's see. Carrie, are you able to say hi?
Yes. Hold on. Yeah. Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm in the LSSP program second semester with several people also in my classes are here too.
Awesome. Welcome. And you live in?
I'm in California right now.
All right. So you're still in the morning.
Yes.
You've got longer to the weekend than the rest of us.
Right.
All right. Glad you're here, Carrie. Jordan, how about you? I think she may be picking up a young child. How about Lindsay? Lindsay, you there?
Yes, I'm here. So I just started my practicum actually 2 weeks ago, first semester. And even though I'm in practicum, I still feel kind of lost. So I thought I'd tune in and figure out, see if I can get any of my questions answered. So that's it.
Awesome. Great. Glad you're here. How about Michelle?
Hi, I'm Michelle Zweibach. I am currently in LSSP in San Antonio. I'm in the doctoral program, second semester. Nice to see you all.
And where you work? Where's your what school district are you working with, Michelle?
This year I'm at Northeast ISD. My boss is actually Brian Kelly, who you may know from Texas Tech.
Graduated from our program a year or so ago.
Yeah.
In fact, it was about this time last year that I bumped into him in Baltimore at the NASP convention. So he was getting ready to defend his dissertation.
Yeah, he said he did it right before COVID. Yeah. It's a nice little mile marker.
Let's see. Katie, do you want to say hi?
Hello.
Hey, Katie. Anything you want to say to everybody?
Sorry, I just came from another meeting, so I'm like
That's all right. Well, we're glad you're here. Feel free to ask questions or put something in the chat.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Rebecca.
Hello.
Hey, Rebecca.
This is Rebecca, and I live here in Lubbock, one of the few. And this is my second semester of the LSSP program. I'm starting my practicum in the fall. I'm super excited.
Awesome. Yeah, that was interesting. You said that you live here in Lubbock, one of the few. Those other people just really missed out on our beautiful weather the other day.
I know. It was great, and we're missing it now.
Yeah. All right, glad to see you. Let's see, Jessica.
I'm Jessica Jackson. I'm one of the RAs and a third-year doctoral student.
Thanks for being here. And then Renee.
Hi guys, my name is Renee Rivera. I'm from El Paso, Texas, and I'm currently working in the SIS school district as an educational diagnostician. This is my first year in the program.
Glad you're here. And I guess you're also in a different time zone than most of us, so we're going to get to the weekend faster than you are. And Yuri.
I'm so sorry. Hi, I'm Yuri Munguia. This is my second semester. I'm hoping to go forward with trying to get accepted into the PhD program. So we're still trying to work on that. So yeah.
Glad you're here today. All right. Appreciate you all joining and introducing yourselves. Just to briefly kind of show you what maybe some of the differences are between Practicum. When you register for Practicum, you'll see Practicum is always going to be coded as or course number EPSY 5392. It's a 3-hour section. It is repeatable, so you can have it as many times as you need to, as you want to, as it's recommended to. So 5392 it can take for you can receive credit multiple times. However, you'll see that we have maybe different sections when you go in to register. So we may have a section called specialist level, and then we may have a section called pre-doctoral or doctoral section. For the specialist level, and specialist level generally refers to our master's students plus certificate students. So the specialist level practicum is always going to be the first practicum sequence, 2 semesters. That's going to include all master's students. It's also going to include unlicensed or non-credentialed doctoral students. So doctoral students who don't currently have a graduate training in school psychology. So you'll notice that every now and then some of our doctoral students say that they're LSSPs, they're already working in the school district, but they've come back for their doctoral work. Those are our students who will be in the pre-doctoral practicum sections. Now that's considered the second practicum sequence or the advanced practicum sequence, and that's usually going to be in the 3rd year for doctoral students. So let's say a doctoral student is in the program in their 1st year, they don't have any practicum that year. The 2nd year, they'll do their specialist level practicum for fall and spring. And then in the 3rd year, they'll do the advanced or the pre-doctoral practicum for fall and spring. So that gives the doc students 4 semesters worth. Those who already have a specialist level training degree receive credit for 2 of those semesters. Let's talk a little bit about what the purpose is of that specialist level practicum. First off, it does require 14 weekly hours of site-based activity under the supervision of a licensed, credentialed, or certified school psychologist. I know some of you have sent in, I think Carrie sent in a question, does it have to be somebody who has the LSSP? And I think I understand she's probably asking from the California perspective that we don't have an LSSP in California. And so in that case, it would be somebody like the licensed educational psychologist or somebody who's credentialed with the California Department of Education. And has been practicing without supervision for at least 3 years and is also in good standing with their regulatory body. I think it's important to consider and to point out that our sites and our supervisors are partners of our training program. So we really do see that as an alliance. We try to maintain a lot of communication with the sites. And we have kind of an agreement that we're partners in this component of our training. Okay. and this doesn't really change for the doctoral practicum versus specialist level, but we do have weekly meetings with the university instructor and the cohort. Now that is not on campus, not face-to-face. It's usually scheduled in the evenings, and it's just a 1 hour weekly. And we try to let you know what those are going to be prior to the semester beginning. Now the differences, and I think it's the differences in the purpose. So the purpose of the first year practicum or the specialist level experience is for those students to obtain field-based opportunities to complete activities that are related to the 10 domains of school psychological practice, to ensure that candidates are adequately prepared to complete a school psychology internship or progress to an more advanced pre-doctoral practicum placement. But it's also to orient, to assimilate, to help you as a candidate to identify with and to the profession of school psychology. So we really do see that as a assimilation process, because you're receiving, you're now in the field, on the ground, working side by side, completing some of these activities that you've been trained to do in the classroom. And so this is really the boots on the ground aspect. Some questions that we frequently get: what if I'm employed by my site? And that's a possibility. I think especially in our program, so many of our students are employed full-time as educators, as diagnosticians, as teachers, as behavior specialists. And so that is certainly going to happen. And so what we've got to do is we've got to get, hit the ground running. You've got to recognize that the activities that are going to be assigned to you to complete as a practicum student are going to be assigned by the university instructor and in collaboration with the site supervisor. And those are considered to be assignments that are kind of outside the normal, your normal job description and responsibility. Okay, so this is something that you're doing above and beyond. Now that doesn't mean that your school system, your supervisor, administrator, superintendent, special ed director, and I said supervisor, or what I mean is more of your administrative supervisor. That doesn't mean that they won't necessarily give you some time release or provide you with a reassignment so that you can incorporate those activities into your work responsibilities, or give you permission or flex time. So there's some different options that a lot of our students have taken advantage of. And I think specifically right now, we as school psychologists have a little bit of a leverage, particularly, well, it's all around the nation, but absolutely in Texas, because our school districts really, really need LSSPs. And so if they know that you are in a school psychology training program, they're more likely to want to hold on to you and provide you with these opportunities so that you can get those assignments completed, and then you can work for that district. We also want, though, to point out, to recognize that both the sites and supervisors and students and us as a training program, we've got to recognize and we've got to acknowledge that you're still in training status as a practicum student. And so that LEA, that school district, that campus should not rely upon you to carry a caseload or to be the school psychological service provider. Does that mean that they can't use the documents and the products that you produce for making decisions for children? No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that they don't need to be relying on you to carry that load, because we're going to be providing you with enough work to stay busy for those 14 hours weekly. We talked about our partnership with districts. And we also wanted to point out that you should have an opportunity to practice with a diverse student population, with diverse grade levels, with diverse ability levels. So we want you practicing across the full continuum of services with both general education and special education students, with young students and old students. I'm going to take a second right there and just take a drink. And if you have a question, feel free to throw your hand up, and I may say, well, let's just parking lot that. We'll get to it in a little bit. You doing okay? Okay. So 1 hour, and you'll notice in our handbook that we articulate that 1 hour of graduate course credit is considered to correspond to 1 hour of time in class. So while in Practicum you're enrolling in 3 hours, that's not necessarily going to be 3 hours in class. And so we've actually calculated that to be 1 hour in class, and then for every hour in class that you're enrolling in, if you're wanting to make an A, if you're wanting to pass that, then that's going to be devoted to additional time outside. So that calculates up to 14 hours of on-site at your placement. Broadly, you know, when people ask me, what does a school psychologist do? I generally say, you know, we're really involved in 3 broad areas of practice. We spend a lot of time, we spend about, you know, a third to half of our time in assessment type data-based decision making, collecting data, analyzing that data, using that data to support decisions that we recommend and that we make. But we also spend a significant percentage of time in intervention and consultation. And so I kind of see that those 3 activities or 3 areas really encompass many of the things that we do as school psychologists. So what you'll do is you'll actually, during practicum, you'll be spending time kind of looking at those 3 broad domains of practice that can also align with the practice model. And we'll just give you sample assignments that you can complete during the year. I've jotted down a couple here. So for instance, you might see that you're able to select the assignment to administer, score, analyze, interpret, write up the results for the BASC-3 self-report for adolescents. Another activity might be to collect behavioral data in a classroom using a time on task analysis and then present that data in narrative and graphic format. So what I hope you're seeing is that these are little chunks of things that you're learning along the way. And you're learning these things in the classroom with your professors, but now's the time that we're going to start putting that into practice and getting some opportunities to use those skills across your work in campuses. Another example might be developing an individualized academic intervention for a student after you've collected data determining their needs. Then you deliver the intervention, you collect progress data, you adjust the intervention, and then you report your process and your outcomes. So that would be like an academic case study. We'll do the same thing with a behavioral case study. Another example of an assignment will be to use best practices to complete a manifestation determination review and then present the process and the outcomes. Another might be to conduct an ethical analysis using the 8-step problem-solving framework. So you can see the things that you've been talking about in your courses are now going to be embedded into your field placements. Now, there's a lot of autonomy, though. I mean, so what I want you to see is it's not necessarily going to be first do this, second do this. What we're going to do is provide you with a lot of different activities that you can choose and select from during those 2 semesters. And you know, for instance, it may say select 3 from this category of 10 activities. And so there's some autonomy there because we recognize that not every site is identical. And so some of our sites are going to permit us to do things that maybe some of the other sites won't. And so we definitely take into consideration the environmental and the ecological factors there, the systems factors. We talked about how those assignments will align with the domains and the standards as expressed in the NAS practice model. We've talked about the supervision. So the you have at least an hour of supervision with your with the university instructor weekly, but then you'll also have at least 1 hour of face-to-face supervision with your site supervisor weekly. Now that I did say face-to-face, however, I keep referring to this as the pandemia, but during the course of the pandemic and in COVID, that has been waived by the state board, while the governor has declared a health crisis. So we're in a state of emergency, and that has been waived by the board for right now. You'll notice down there that at the bottom it says you'll present your products and your assignments, and you'll engage in peer review. And so what that means is, you know, for instance, you may complete a behavioral case study where you've conducted an FBA, and then you've implemented a BIP, you've collected data on the implementation or the intervention of that BIP, and then you present those findings to your peers. And so your peers will be able to engage with you in peer review, provide you with feedback and critiques. You'll also receive feedback and critiques from the university instructor. And so plan on several different presentations to your cohort weekly about the work that you're engaging in on your campuses and on your sites. How will you be graded? Practicum 5392 is a credit or no credit course, so it's a pass-fail course. At the end of each semester, you and your site supervisor will complete an evaluation in order to assess your competencies that have been developed and performed throughout the semester. The current rubric that's being used for that is, I believe, on a scale of NA to 1 to 4, and if you're marked as maybe it's a 1 to 5. If you're marked as a 1 or 2, then you would not receive course credit. But it's very difficult to be rated with a 1 or a 2 on some of those items. You can review that evaluation. It is in the field placement handbook, and I've linked that for you. I'll send out these PowerPoint slides later on. And then we talked about the presentations to your cohort. We also use a system. We subscribe to it's pretty advanced website called Time to Track. It's designed for psychology students to log their clinical and their field hours. And so you'll be logging all of your hours in Time to Track. That will then, once you log those hours, you send it actually has a button you send to your supervisor approves those hours, and then when they approve it, it sends it to your university instructor. So you actually have logs that are kept electronically, and you can refer back to those as long as you need them, so that when you're completing applications and submitting other documentation, you have that. So that's a pretty neat system. We've had some students ask about the LPA. In Texas, the LPA is the Licensed Psychological Associate license that's issued by the Texas State Board of Examiners of Psychologists. It requires a master's degree with the word psychology in the title, and it does lead to independent practice. And so some students have asked about obtaining that license. So it's kind of like the equivalent of the LPC for counselors. Now, the big kick there, and a lot of our students have not gotten this because I believe that the board requires that your practicum be completed, all your practicum hours be completed underneath the supervision of a licensed psychologist. So when you're thinking about, if you're one of those who's looking for the route of going the LPA, and you're thinking about that, then we do need to find practicum opportunities for you that are supervised by an LP, or that you've got access to an LP to provide your supervision. So your next steps, if you're going to be enrolling in specialist level practicum next year, get up to date, get up to par on reading your NASP 2020 standards, which includes the practice model. Be very familiar with that. Also read the current version of the TSBEP rules and regulations, the statutes and rules, and ensure there's a section in there, there's a title in there that refers to supervision. And I would highly encourage you to read over that, because the Texas State Board really has some specific ways that you've got to identify yourself as a student under supervision, and you've also got to notify parents of children who are receiving your services. So we've got to make sure that we're all on the up and up there. Next, start gathering information about your potential sites, supervisors, administrators. If you already have a site in place, make sure that that site has access to one of these qualifying school psychologists that's able to provide that supervision for you. Let's check their status. Let's make sure that they've been practicing for at least 3 years without supervision. Also, join NASP, join TASP, and start shopping for student liability insurance. It's fairly economical. I think it's, I don't know, $30, $40, $50 for a year worth of student liability insurance, but that is a requirement of our program that you carry that while you're out in field placements. If you're a member of NASP, there's a couple of different companies that provide discounts for students if you're a member of NASP. You also will need to have obtained a grade of A or B in all of your coursework prior to enrolling in practicum. I think I mentioned, if you work for an LEA, for a school district, start having conversations with your administrators and supervisors and 504 staff, special ed staff, letting them know, hey, I'm in a school psychology training program. I'm ready to engage in practicum. This is what practicum includes. Can I pursue that here at this site? If you have arranged that, if you already have a verbal agreement or permission in place from the site, let me know ASAP so that we can make sure that we have a good fit. Make sure that they're going to allow you to do the things that we're going to require, or we can have some of those conversations to negotiate. The other thing is, if you're not, don't think that you're out, that you have to go find a site. Okay, we do that. We help you with that. But I need to know if you're one of those individuals that needs a site, or if you're going to be doing you've already arranged that on your own. Okay, so send me email, let me know one way or the other, whichever direction that you're going to be going. Make an A and B in all of your classes. Read and respond to your email in a timely manner. And then I always recommend our students to start cleaning up their social media profiles and accounts. You'd be surprised at how many friends you start making, and then you realize, oh, I don't really want all these people to know what goes on outside of the work world. So start cleaning those up and protecting them, etc. That's the bulk of the specialist level practicum. Let me pause there and take any questions that you might have about the specialist level practicum that I didn't cover.
Brooke, I have a question.
Yes.
So for the 14 hours, is that specifically 14 hours, or is it like a certain amount cumulatively throughout the semester? Could it be like 20 hours one week and whatever it averages out to be?
It is yes and no. Do I sound like an attorney? So yes, it's an average of 14 hours, but we don't want you cramming that into the first 3 weeks or procrastinating until the last 3 weeks. So it needs to be kind of spaced out and averaged throughout the semesters.
Okay, thank you.
that doesn't mean you can't, yes, log 20 hours one week and 10 hours the following week. We understand that schedules change, but we also, in most situations, are making a commitment to a school district, and so they need to be able to anticipate and be on the same page as we are.
Great, thank you.
Other questions?
I have a question, Brooke.
Rebecca.
So can you do like, say like for the fall semester, do one site and spring semester do another site, or does it need to be, because like here in Lubbock, I was going to try out some different ones and my schedule allows me to do that. And so is that possible?
You know, we've never, we have had students who have changed placements and sites, but that wasn't something that was pre-arranged.
Okay.
But I don't think that that would be a problem as long as we're going into it with agreements from all the parties.
Okay.
Okay, good
Sounds
question. I like that. I like that idea. Lindsay, you were here. You said you're kind of figuring practicum out right now this semester. Did this answer any of your questions or thoughts?
Yes, and I was typing a question in the chat because my internet buffered and I didn't get how many hours total is it that we need for the semester? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't have a total.
Okay.
It's 14
Okay.
hours weekly,
Average.
and then we estimate that there's 15 weeks in a semester. So somebody want to put a calculator to that? What's that? 210? Is that right?
Okay.
15 times 14.
Okay.
I'm not a math major. 210. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, that was yes, that was my question. Yeah, I think I'm a little less confused. I kind of feel like since I started in the middle of practicum, or I guess the middle of the cohort that started in the fall, then I kind of felt like I was coming in and I didn't really understand. But this kind of helped me feel like, no, I do know what's going on. So thank you. This has been helpful.
And if we need to have a side conversation, please let me know. I'll be happy to visit with you and your site.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else before we move on to talking about the doctoral practicum? Renee, Yuri, are you guys okay? All right. Okay then. Moving on, we'll talk a little bit about the pre-doctoral practicum. What is the difference between the pre-doc and the specialist level practicum? Well, the purpose of the pre-doc practicum is to obtain those advanced skills in an area of specialization that's related to school psychology, to learn some self-appraisal of practice strategies, and then to ground practice in research inquiry, to engage in applied research, and to gain that valuable experience in preparation for competitive internships. We also have noticed, actually today, I was reviewing the NASP 2020 standards were approved this past summer, and I really haven't taken a close look at what some of the things that have changed. Those standards are not applied yet, but they will be soon. One of the things that they changed is they actually said that if you complete an advanced practicum of 600 hours or more in a school system, then that can count for 600 hours towards your 1,500 hour internship. So we're trying to understand that, what the interpretation and implication of that is. And so this may be revised a little bit, but it does at least, kind of allow some different options and flexibility going forward. Some of the things that are the same, you're still, still requires appropriate supervision, and that appropriate supervisor could possibly be the university instructor. It still requires site agreement and a partnership with the site. It still requires that practicum students notify the recipients of services that they're providing that were under supervisory status. Still requires you to maintain liability insurance, to meet weekly with your site supervisor and your university instructor, to still log weekly hours of 14 or more. It's still a pass-fail, credit, no credit course, and you're still being evaluated by the supervisor and the instructor. What's different though? Well, what's different is that you're going to be selecting maybe a specialization area. Well, you are going to be selecting a specialization area, and that's an area of school psych practice where you really want to gain enhanced and advanced skills. We'll talk about some of those that you might consider pursuing later, but this is something that's not currently, again, not something that's part of your current job responsibility, and it's not a skill that you currently have. Well, I'll get to that example later. The other thing that's going to do is you're actually going to create your individualized professional development plan that's going to be created in consultation with your supervisor and your instructor. And so that professional development plan, how am I going to learn this new skill? What am I going to be reading? What am I going to be self-studying? What kind of trainings am I going to be going to in order to get this this new advanced skill? You'll develop goals for your experience and weekly individual expectations of yourself. You'll complete weekly self-appraisal of practice. So we've got some different guided activities that that you'll respond to. How did I do? Evaluating and appraising your own practices and reflecting on how did I do with this counseling situation? How did I handle this crisis or this emergency situation? Maybe my area of specialization is professional development. How did that session that I delivered go? And helping you but appraise your own abilities in your own practice. This is an opportunity for you to begin using this experience to formulate research questions and possible directions for your qualifying exam or for even your dissertation proposal. And so it's really, we're putting you into a place where you need to be thinking about that dissertation. You need to be thinking about your own research and the direction that you want to move there. These last few things here is still, we're still kind of massaging. It's possible that you will need a supervisor who does have the terminal degree in school psychology, the doctoral degree. That's still up for some negotiation because it isn't part of the current handbook, but that could be a change in the future. Again, that doesn't mean that if you don't have that right now, Michelle, Jordan, trying to see who else, Katie, Ileana, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to complete it, because the university instructor can also provide that level of qualification. It's also possible, and we just need to talk about this before you begin. Are you looking to, to get that 600 hours taken care of during practicum that NASP now permits us to credit towards the internship? Or are you wanting to, to do your full 1,500 internship? So it kind of depends. We need to start thinking about some career goals and some directions going forward. So what are some examples of some specializations? And again, this is going to be dependent, this is going to be fluctuating and changing based upon, your particular situation. But it could be working with Dr. Wong's lab and becoming a certified in parent-child interaction therapy. It could be doing a placement at the Burkhart Center for Autism Education and Research related to focused and intensive ABA therapy. It could be pediatric psychology, where you might work within a hospital setting and complete your hours within a hospital setting. Maybe you're already employed with a school district as a school psychologist, but you're not currently a part of the crisis intervention response team or a threat assessment team. And so you want to really gain some valuable skills in working with that sort of a team, then that might be a specialization. Maybe your school district houses the county's early childhood intervention program, and you're interested in working more with kids with developmental delays and early intervention. So so really, this is an opportunity for you to dream, for you to start thinking creatively, for you to customize this area of your training. We want to look around. We want to see who are the experts around you, what experts lie within our program, and how can we customize, create, and tailor a specialization advanced practicum for you. That is, let's see, here's some other questions that were submitted. I want to make sure that we got them all taken care of. What constitutes a practicum activity? Is there a list somewhere? So we are refining the list. I did talk about some of the things that may be on that list, but the syllabus does come with a list of activities. Who can supervise these activities? I think we got that one covered. Does it all need to be in a school setting? I think we probably should talk about that a little bit more. But so I think I know who sent in this question. So we can talk about that and work around that. It's really more about having a practicing school psychologist. And then, yes, this session is being Zoom recorded. So any other questions? Did I get you all?
Brooke, I have a quick question.
Yes, Michelle.
On one of the slides previous where you were saying like examples of specializations, the first one said the supervision of interns and practicum students. Does that mean as a advanced prac student, I could be supervising the LSSP interns and that would be my specialization, or did I misunderstand that?
No, that could be. That
okay.
That could definitely be something, and I would want to know, is that part of your current practice right now? And can we?
Not now.
Okay, so can we talk to Dr. Kelly about, embedding that as one of your specializations?
Great, thank you. That would be awesome.
And again, I would hope that by doing so, Michelle, that would help you to formulate some of your research questions that you would like to spend time inquiring about, and may possibly lead to some research within the district, and maybe even to your qualifying exam and your dissertation proposal.
Thanks. That sounds good.
Others? Grasshoppers, crickets. I don't know how to, I'm bad at that. Okay, guys. Well, I'm here for a little longer. If you want to stay on, feel free to. If not, then feel free to sign off, and we'll see you later. I'm going to do, I guess at 1 o'clock, we're going to do a little intern orientation. And then at 2 o'clock, we're going to do a how to get licensed as an LSSP session. So feel free to join any of those that you'd like.